are you?
Morning, how are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, he has more work to do. But, we talked.
Oh, well, okay.
He is. No, he's gonna help communicate with all the membership.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
That's okay.
That's good.
Yeah, hey, whatever it takes.
I'm not
I think that's everybody, Tim.
just yet.
I think that's everybody that signed it. Yeah,
Oh,
that's fine.
good. I just
yeah,
finally
she's a-
stopped taking additional. I had to do
This is just for us, right?
10 days of IVs myself. And
believe we're already in
additional,
June almost.
10 days of oral after that, too.
These are your proposals?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, what I gave you.
And 6 days in the hospital. I was beside myself, I can tell you that. I mean,
No.
and it was the ironic part is my ex-father-in-law died the week before of sepsis. So I was supposed to go to the funeral from the hospital. So I couldn't say anything.
It's just so we, if we have to dig in deeper, but you can look at it also. Let me check here, right? Thanks for being here, everybody. I want to get started with introductions and go through.
Assistant Chief Dennis Weiner from the Police Department.
Mark Mitchell, Human Resources.
Henry Middleton, Office of General Counsel.
Tim Kubrick, Labor Relations.
Heather Frederick, Chief Financial Officer.
Erica Rieger, Chief of Human Resources.
Kevin O'Sullivan, PBA rep.
Katie Mendoza, PBA Attorney.
Alexander Lopez, PBA rep.
Michael Lynch, PBA rep.
So thanks. I just wanted to start off with introducing Ms. Rager, who's our new Chief of Human Resources, who will be joining us in the session. So again, thanks for being here. I'll get started with a couple things. Officer Lynch, I know you wanted to mention something. You have a list of questions regarding pay gaps, and we did discuss this last week in making sure that all officers understand, the reason for it and things like that. So we'd be happy to take those questions.
Well,
and
this was
get back
just
to you.
a statement from one of our officers, so I want to make sure that we just put it for the record that you guys can see it, and
Sure.
so he knows that we're,
Did we get it?
He's bringing it over.
Oh, okay.
And I think there was a question of like how the paychecks fall versus like the fiscal year, and they were worried about the number, but there are 26 paychecks per year. Correct.
Correct, and what we're doing is we're working on a way to provide somewhat of a job aid so that officers can go back and look at their paychecks and then confirm that they're getting paid for exactly the time that they worked.
Okay.
That they're not being shortchanged in any way. And so we're just working on something in an easy to understand format for what's a challenging issue. And so we hope to have it ready today, but it just wasn't possible. So know that we are working on that and we'll be sending that communication out.
Okay, would that just be like something they log into? And
Well, they would be able to
are-
just what I'm trying to do is based on the actual pay stub, and where they can download their personal pay stub, and we have arrows to just explain to them, this is what you would look at in order to recalculate to confirm that this is what that you're receiving what your actual annual salary is. And we're going to start by looking at just a brand new officer starting this year that didn't start at the beginning of the year, and just and showing and proving that officer is going to be receiving the exact amount that he's entitled and earned based on days worked.
Okay, and I think that's where part of the concern was coming from, because I think that one of the letters mentioned something about if you're like a new hire. So I think that raised like a lot of red flags. So yeah, if that's explained, then I'm sure that'll ease a lot of minds. So.
yeah, which was the 6/18/22 to 7/1/22 is the concern that they were having.
Based upon when they're hired, correct? Yeah.
It's also, it's correct to say that this is not just affecting the the police department, other employees of the school district?
Correct. There are other groups that are being impacted as well. The police officers happen to be the largest group for this pay gap for this year, but there, like I said, are pay gaps every single year with different groups within each of the bargaining units.
Okay. I think that would help clear it up, no matter how many times we say it to our members. It's nice to hear that from your side, because they're looking at it, well, I'm not getting a check, so you are getting 26 checks, so we appreciate your assistance in that matter to clear it up. Thank you. Or I just say clear it up, but just give better, more education so people can see it in front of them. Thank you.
And there was also, they had questions about, and I know we talked about this before, but just that it's not, the district isn't open on a Friday, which is the beginning of the pay period. Can you explain that a little bit?
Even if for some reason we were able to delay it, it would only delay the pay gap for 1 year, and there would definitely be a pay gap in the following year. So it's not ever going to, you know, by being able to come to work on that one day that's off, isn't going to avoid the pay gap. It would just push it off for another year.
Okay. You guys have anything else? No? Okay. All right, I think that's everything on the pay gap.
All right, and I think once we get some information out there, hopefully that can put it to rest and everybody can understand and that, you know, see it, because it's a lot easier to, I think, understand if you could see it, right? So during the last session, we did talk about the WEX cards, gas cards. And we discussed the recent changes to the WEX cards, and since then, obviously, you all know we have a new chief of police. I met with Chief Mooney, discussed this with her, and it's her preference to reissue the gas cards to the officers with the take-home vehicles so that they can, you know, so to avoid the issues we talked about last time, right? So we're also going to look into leveraging some information from the WEX card company to maybe simplify the records keeping of it so that it's not so, you know, because part of the issue was getting an email with a receipt and tracking it and then entering it into a spreadsheet. And maybe there's a possibility that some of this can come delivered from the company who provides those cards. So we're going to look into trying to leverage whatever tools they have for us to simplify the process, reduce the manpower on our end of doing it. And but Chief Mooney really felt that was something that needed to happen. So obviously, we'd encourage officers to use district pumps when you're close, right? If you can, great, use them. It saves us money. It's more money in the pot that we look to do other things with. But there are examples that came up last week or last session, and you can obviously come up with in your head just knowing that there will be cases where someone would spend more maybe in gas to go get gas at our pump by having the lengthy commute. And it's also additional wear and tear on the vehicle and things, and the officer's time, right? So we are looking into that. School police, she'll be working with her team to update the general order that outlines the procedures on use of WEX cards. I don't have a specific time frame as to when this will be finalized, but I do know that I confirmed with her that this is the intent of where we're going with it, so.
We may want to just, for just like the call-out guys though still, may want to,
Expedite it.
Summertime now, so we're not going to have that opportunity, when we get called out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and if there, for some reason, we're low on fuel, it's just we do still try to use the pumps, obviously, too, but.
And the number of actual call-outs, I think, is very minimum, I think. There are not more than 12 that actually go out.
So you're
That-
saying for now, just give the call out, guys?
If it's possible, yes.
This is Chief.
Shouldn't be
I'll
an
let
issue.
I'll let you look
That-
into that with.
That shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, I'll let Assistant Chief look into that with the team and go from there, but that,
Thank you.
I don't see any concern with it. And, part of the discussion was, well, we talked about mileage, right? And her point was, well, if you, let's just say you use 5 miles, for example, right? and you were 5.2 miles, then it's sort of like, well, I want to be over there, I want to be that group. So then you've got, you know, internal dispute on who's where and whatever. So in her opinion, it was just best if everybody had the card, but
Well, we thank
was
you, and
mindful.
we thank Chief Mooney, and we formulated, I have proposals that we didn't give to you yet, but we did like a system for like on-duty coverage, but I think that the card is just easier because then there won't be coverage issues from that,
I
so.
agree. I think it's worked out. I wish it worked out before last session, but it's worked out, right? So,
Better late than never.
yeah, right. All right, getting into the AB schedule, I just wanted to make sure we're all clear that they are moving forward with the AB squad. I think we made that clear last session, but I just wanted to make sure.
Well, can I just go back to, and in our proposal, I can give these to you now, but we put K-9 officers, detectives, and call-out officers. So I don't know if that's something we can, like, those
Are you going on the
groups
gas cards?
Yeah,
Oh,
those are the 3 groups we identified because we thought those were the most crucial to have a WEX card right now. So that's who we named in there, K-9 detectives and call-out.
I'll just give them.
Okay, he said 3 groups. What was the
yeah,
third one?
call-out officers, detectives, and
K-9 detectives and call-out.
like, the officers on call.
No, the K-9 detectives. I thought that was one.
It's basically the
Oh, I
same thing.
got
They're on call also, though.
Two different.
She thought K-9 and detectives were together. Yep, I'm good.
You mind if I share with you mine? I'll share with you.
I have a question that you just, about the AB schedule that you just said.
Yes.
That was the intent to go with the AB. Is that something that they plan on doing from year to year from now on? Or is that just this July calendar, or is, you know?
I did not get into, you know, the end date of it. It was just in our discussions, you know, that is what the chief's decision is. It does help limit overtime. It does utilize officers' time more efficiently and provide smaller groups when conducting training. That's just what the chief has decided to do.
So in our proposals, I attached the example of the old calendar, and then I also attached the new calendar as proposed. And we did do that survey, and I got a few more responses after last session, and we got about 40 responses, and 2/3 was in favor of the old way. So that's why, you know, it's their hours of employment, so it's something we should bargain over every time the calendar's issued, and they did prefer the old way. And Kevin probably knows the most about this, so,
And with the old versus the new?
right.
Yeah. The old one, the new one came about when, during COVID, under Chief Kitzrow's leadership, to be able to help the department and we used the term quite a bit, flexible, which was, we had a good relationship at that time. And because it was a situation, obviously, that we've never had to deal with, meaning we, as society, and then coupled with the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, that was the only way to be able to work together collectively and collaboratively to be able to for our mission to be accomplished, essentially. Prior to that, ever since I have been here, I know Alex is here, prior to me, it's always been the department's calendar has always come out where essentially we all work together, and then the other times that need be, if police service was necessary, the department would make necessary arrangements for that. The officers, based on the response, are in favor of that. Obviously, we operate on a democracy here, majority rules, and the officers like that one better because of the fact that a lot of it, I'm sorry, part of it, and I really do understand, is that, I hate to say it right now, and this is just my opinion, we really don't have a camaraderie now, because we don't see each other. I look at people on my screen, and I don't know, honestly, probably 3/4 of people anymore. That was a big thing people really enjoyed, is to be able to see that. I know from that aspect, it might not mean a lot what I'm saying, but to be able to see people who you work with, and if you have to respond to someone, to help someone, you know who they are, not just looking for a blue uniform. So that was very important to that. As well as just working on patrol together, there was more of a response. And I know the statement now, and that was all prior to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And I know times have changed, and we have that necessity to cover the schools. But that was primarily, I don't know if you could add anything else to it, Alex.
I just, to me, it's mind-boggling how, a gentleman's agreement between one, management and labor become, in the end, they're not going to honor the agreement. The agreement was for, during the COVID, we were going to do it this way, and it would go back to normal. All of a sudden now, you change the rules in the middle of the game. The question I had is, when do the Fridays start with the summers closed with the district?
This week? This school,
Okay.
like right now, you mean?
Yeah.
Next week?
Okay, well then, in that case, I see the June calendar for the offices here, they have Fridays. So that needs to be adjusted too then. I mean, if we're gonna be playing, fairly,
We went to 10-hour days.
yeah, we want the 10-hour days then, just like everybody else.
I thought we agreed to that anyway.
So, I mean, what's good, it's little things, the June 2022 calendar that has us working Fridays, and has us 8-hour days scheduled for the whole summer, for those 2 weeks.
And I don't think, I'm sorry, I didn't include June 22.
I have it
Oh,
here.
right, okay.
I mean, like I said, we can handle this, like adults and, honor each other's agreements, or we can just play tit for tat. I'd rather just, honor it and play like adults.
Well, they're just saying as part of negotiations for when this new AB squad was put into effect,
Right.
they spoke about it going back to the old way, and now it just seems like this AB is going to be what's issued every time. But
So-
the schedule is something that should be bargained before it's changed every time, so that's fine, but, and I should have included the June 2022, but, because before it was like you guys had 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and now you're almost working
Yeah, and
for,
that's the other thing,
3
too.
weeks
It
every.
seemed- That's one of the complaints that we're receiving now, is it seems like we no longer have the time off that they used to have. It seems like we're always working
This
now. And I know it's still the same amount of days, but it seems like we're working more.
This department started in 1972, so it's almost 50 years old now. They never had a problem with the schedule. The summer schedules were always the same, everybody had the same schedule. This last regime here decided that they were gonna tweak it. That's one of the reasons why the morale went down so far. I mean, this is,
That's something
last 2
why
weeks in June.
people come and work here because of the schedule, and, there's good and bad to working at any place, but that is one of the reasons why they come and work here. So I think that's why, too, we've been hearing a lot of things about the schedule change. And now that they work, you could just see they work part of 3 weeks, where before they had 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And Kevin, you can, and I should have given you June 22.
Just because, I'm sorry, Mr. Kubrick.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just because I've been doing our version of the calendar, because I'll digress, probably about 11 years ago under the first chief when I came, just being the type of person I am, which I won't, I've been called many different things, like kind of like OCD, is I dot my I's, I cross my T's, and I do everything like that. So I detected an error, again, probably about 11 years ago. So ever since that time, I'll say I've always been doing my version from the union, and it always worked out perfectly with the management. We would sit down with various, like, sergeants and assistant chief, like Chief McCutcheon off the top of the head, he sat in on one of them. So as I look right here at June of 2022, historically, what happens is that we always fill in, I'll start, a brief synopsis, if you don't mind. July is when you start. You get 8 hours credit for the holiday, and you work 80 hours. Then what happens is that every day, obviously, school's in session, we got to be there. So what happens is that, if you look, June is never an 88-hour month, because it's whatever hours are left over. Generally, it's like 72 hours. You might say, why is that? Because when we closed the school district for Thanksgiving, X amount of years ago, Mr. Mitchell, I'm looking at you, because I don't remember how long, we all got 2 extra days off. So if you were to add those 16 hours to the 72, you would have got 88. So that's how June is always less than every other month, okay? So as I look at this right now, if we went to the 10 hours and such, essentially it would, I hate to say it, would almost like benefit for management, actually. But your Fridays wouldn't be covered. But essentially, it's going to be ending at the same day, same date at the in June. So it's just something for management to look at, and I could go over with someone
Which is
real
June
brief.
17th.
Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. So actually, I hate to say it, it would actually push the schedule ahead one day. So people would be working, would get they'd get Fridays off, 2 Fridays off, but then their last tour of duty, for example, in the Squad A, of which I am in, my last day would be the 14th, so it would push it ahead. So with this, the department actually can, I don't want to say it out loud, but they can actually manipulate this to have more coverage, actually. So just something to consider.
You're saying it's not as much, it's not like the district's going to be having to spend that much more.
No,
because
it's actually no more money. It's just that like Alex said, in July we are closed. So whenever the school district closes is in June, and what day is that? I'm sorry.
What day is?
In June is when Fridays close.
First week.
Next week is the first week of the 10-hour work.
Oh, so that would be
Work
June
days.
3rd. So then what would happen is that essentially the department would pick up 2 of the squads. You got Squad A and Squad B. You would pick them up working 2 additional tours of duty. So it's being off on Fridays for those, or having people work the 2 additional tours of duties between Monday and Thursday.
You also had made a statement at the last meeting, too, about it allows you to save the money for the overtime and use it for other things.
Not
Were
overtime.
you, no, I'm talking about for the extra days for covering of summer schools.
Yeah, it wouldn't be overtime
For the-
anyway.
Whether for the non-contract pay. Were you planning on using that for a bigger raise then for us? I mean, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. So if you have something that's, we can, maybe, if we know that it's earmarked for something and these guys are going to get something in return, I mean, maybe that's something we can bargain on. But, I mean, right now, I mean,
It just feels like it's just take, and no
Yeah.
give on that side. It just, like I said, are we part of the district or not? We keep being told we're part of the district, but we're being treated separately from the district. Our calendar, the school district calendar came out over 2 years ago. It was approved 2 years ago for the 2022, 2023 year, correct?
Probably, something
It
like
was.
that.
It says it on the calendar, the day it was approved. Why does it take the department a week before, 2 weeks before the summer schedule to put out our summer schedules, our summer calendar? It's ridiculous already.
I can't answer that. I can say this, though. We hear your concerns with the schedule. The new chief has a lot of ideas that she wants to, go through. She's been here, 2 weeks, right? So I think that she's more than willing to listen to all of this, to consider these things. And am I saying that A-B squad is here to stay forever and we might as well write in the agreement? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for right now, that was what the chief had decided to go forward with, and so that's what I'm sharing with you. But like I said, I met with her last week, and she expressed, a lot of different ideas that she has. Gas cards being one of them, was pretty clear on that. Addressing, concerns of the officers. So I think this is something that we'll get into, and, she'll hear what your concerns are. It's just right now, what I'm sharing with you is that was the decision. Now, in terms of the 10-hour workdays, we could take that back to the chief and talk about it, and we could get back to you on that.
And
But I don't have any other information really at this time for you.
Yeah, we know, and and it's a, you know, ongoing negotiation, but I think Alex is just a little frustrated because they had this discussion when the AB was initially implemented.
Right, I
and-
understand.
Yeah, and we have to bargain it every year anyway, so they just don't want it to seem like, and especially after the survey, I think a majority do want it the old way. But I think Kevin makes a good point when he says that it's really like not much of a loss as far as what the district has
No.
to pay for the.
No, it wouldn't cost them any additional monies. Now, you might ask, why is that? Because I used to do this back in New York, doing officers' duty charts and such in my precinct. So from a management perspective, I hate to say this, is that it would behoove management because, to do it. Me personally, it doesn't matter to me. The only issue I could say right now in front of everyone is that some officers might have already say, like it's Squad A, I believe the last day is on a Monday. So if it is to be moved, officers might have to make necessary arrangements to undo vacation plans for June of 2022.
right.
Yeah. That would be the negative of it.
Okay, and I think we'll talk more about that too after. Do you want to move on to everything else and then we can come back to that? So our wage proposal is basically the same. I added some language for the leave. I don't know if you want to go article by article or,
So we do have some salary stuff to address here, so I was planning on getting into that next.
I'm sorry?
We do have some salary
Okay.
information to address right now. So our salary proposal is the 3.5% retroactive to January 1st, along with a $1,500 one-time bonus. We agree to increase the non-contract hourly rate from $37 to $40 per hour. We agree to increase the outside detail hourly rate from $35 to $40 per hour. In addition, during the previous sessions, we heard your concerns about our annual salary of our officers, how it compares with our competitors. And while I'm not going to really sit here and line up our annual salary compared to organizations that have 12-month positions, what we are going to look at is to make sure our hourly rate is competitive. And so what we are proposing here is, number one, with our salary schedule, the pay range, for the current minimum hourly rate for a 216 is $27.23, which is what they're on. What we're proposing is that we adjust it to the 206, right? And along with that, it would be an increase with the 3.5%, it would be your new hourly rate, minimum hourly rate would be $29.55. The max would then be with the 206, the $50.51. So your new annual base salary, not including overtime or anything like that, starts at $48,700 or a max of $83,240. So I think that establishes an hourly rate that is towards the higher end of our regional competitors. And I know that annual salary, no, we're not going to line them up and compare them because the duty days are just different, and it's just impossible for us to match that up. But what we can match up is, or compare and talk about and look to increase first, at least, is our hourly rate.
So that everybody would go up $3 an hour then?
3.5%.
No, I'm talking about from the 27 to the 29.
27 to 29.
I didn't get it.
Oh, all right, so remember,
And I know the starting, and then you're increasing the starting, you're increasing the top. What about in the middle?
everybody would go up 3.5%. The increase
They're
is at
just
3.5%.
changing the range and they're keeping the offer of 3.5 and 1,500.
Do you have anything in writing for us? 'Cause it's hard
Yes,
to-
I do.
All right.
What did you say? It's something about 206? What do you mean?
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about, with increasing the days to 206.
He said 216 at first, and then
No,
he said...
2.6, so from what you're on right now is a 216.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
okay?
216.
So
yeah.
206, so doing that, first off, it changes your hourly rate right there.
So you're cutting days from the calendar, is what you're doing? Or you're cutting days that we don't actually work? Because we're actually
Correct.
working 200 days, right? 200?
It's a 20, it's really a 206, from
Yeah,
what I
because
understand.
some of those days are paid holidays,
We're just
so.
looking to really establish yeah, you could get 6 paid federal holidays.
So then we only work 200 days, because 6 of those are
Right,
paid.
right.
So if you're cutting it, that's why I want to see it in writing, because it doesn't
So
make sense
It's
to me.
just reestablishing it as a 206. So it's really just, say what it is. You work 206 duty days.
So you're given, those are 6 vacation days instead?
No.
Well, you already have that, I believe.
Florida
So
statute.
if you worked on those days, then they would be overtime instead of,
So anything,
days.
anything beyond those would be non-contract days, right?
so they would be considered part of our 40-hour week then, those 6 days?
You're
The
206
6
now.
days? Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, so if we have one of our non-contract days,
206 are just for your holidays, so it's like a
Correct.
holiday, it's part of your.
so if you're
What is your question? If you work on a holiday, does it count
So-
towards your overtime?
yeah, so instead they'll be considered a holiday, not a non-contract day then, am I correct?
Doesn't
It
make
will be
sense.
a 206 duty day contract.
Okay, so right now, so say for Thanksgiving, or, I'm sorry, not for Thanksgiving, say for
Thank you, sir.
what would be considered our first non-contract day because it's a federal holiday? Say 4th of July.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would actually be considered us working 40 or 8 hours that day, correct?
The holidays would be no different than how they're treated now.
But then how will we?
They're paid
Yeah,
holidays.
they're paid.
All right,
So what
If
is
you work
the,
a 40-hour, okay, so say you work 4 out of those 5 days, okay? So you're working 32 hours versus working 40 hours. So the 40th hour would be, the 8 hours from the Friday would be a non-contract day, so if you worked on that day.
If I may, with those holidays, which are H's on our duty chart,
Yes.
you can, are we getting credited those 8 hours towards the 40 that week, Mike? So if you, like, for example, if hypothetically, if a holiday falls on a Monday, those next 4 days, as long as you come to work, you're getting paid time and a half because you're getting 8 hours credit on the holiday. If it was the non-contract day in there, then you had to make up the 8 hours to reach 40, then it would be overtime.
there's one thing that I find a little confusing. I understand what you're doing here, and I'll get to that in the end, but contractually, the officers that have been here already, under a 216 contract, for that salary, for the salary that we're, getting when you, now you cut the duty days to 206, and their salary stays the same, that sounds like a
wash?
you're cutting their salary.
No, salaries are not cut at all.
I know the salaries
You're
aren't cut,
cutting their
because this is
time.
actually, what this actually is a shell game. You're moving it, or you're moving the pegs around, the salary's staying the same, you're only adding the 3.5%, which is across the board to the whole district, everybody's getting 3.5%. So you're lowering the duty days, but the salary's staying the same.
The annual salary
The
is
annual
staying the
salary stays the
same.
same,
But
plus the
it- but
3
it's
point,
an-
Staying the same.
plus the
for
3.5%.
3.5%.
Yeah, which everybody, the whole district's getting 3.5%. And their duty days aren't changing, so, by
We're not
doing,
looking to increase.
by doing that,
your
you're not
duty-
creating.
We're not increasing your duty days.
You're decreasing the duty days, but the salary's staying the
Correct.
same.
Correct.
So, shouldn't that
You're
be an issue?
giving them a
with-
little bit of a bump in the range, but you're decreasing the days.
But how do you decrease days that weren't really there?
Right,
We're
that's
working 200
basically the point, is to establish that, and I've seen the flyers, I've seen the schedules, you work 206 duty days, correct?
We work 200 duty,
Right, but 206, the
206 is what we get paid for.
Right.
We actually physically work 200.
So that's what we're just calling it what it is, 206, right? We're not adjusting down any salaries.
But
Where was the extra 10 coming from?
Apparently, I don't know,
The
maybe
extra
years
10
ago,
came years ago when the district had a lot of more holidays on the calendar. They had it as H's as holidays. For those of us that have been here for a while might remember that. They had extra days that weren't really paid holidays, but they had it on the calendar as an H for a holiday. That's where the department
Okay.
got those days from.
So, but again, I want to stress that there's no increase in duty days. You're not working any more days than you were before.
No, I
Your
just,
salary is not adjusted down, right?
correct.
And then on top of that, so with that, your hourly rate is adjusted, right? And then the 3.5% adjusts it up even a little more.
I understand what you're saying. It just, the timing is just makes it sound like the numbers are, it makes it sound like a shell game. You're shuffling the shells around to pick where, it makes it look better, it makes it sound better than the 216, which we originally worked.
That's why I'm trying to be very
Still
clear
too-
that saying
just
this is
clarifying it then.
3.5%. I'm not saying you're getting, I'm not trying to say it's beyond the 3.5% that we're adding. I'm trying to make that very clear, that I'm not trying to sell this as something different, but I am explaining because there's confusion.
It's
it
no
seems
different
like.
than the previous proposals, we're just getting 3.5%. That's what we might as well just say.
Yeah,
It's the
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
But we're
exact-
also agreed to, plus a $15 bonus, plus your 37 to 40.
Which was the original,
Correct, plus the $37 to $40 per hour, the $35 per hour to $40 per hour, along with these increased hourly rates. So remember, you also have an increase in any overtime rates, plus the WEX cards.
The 37 to 40, is that only for non-contract, or is that for non-contract and lease?
That's non-contract. Outside detail is the lease, correct?
No, lease is a lease, and outside, well, I guess.
Isn't that outside
it
detail?
is.
Yeah. Outside
Outside
detail
detail,
is currently 35. You asked to go to 40, so we agree to both of those requests.
I think it's a little disappointing. You guys have over 13,000 teachers. There's a few hundred police officers. I know you say this is what the teachers got, but they do get that tiered supplement. The property taxes are going up, 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 up. So I just think that 5% is not a big ask. And you talk about duty days, but they don't have near as much leave as everybody else at these other agencies. So they really do work like the same amount of time. And I know, you're trying to help the range a little bit, which we appreciate, but I just think that 5% is not a big ask considering where they're at right now.
Yeah, if I may, and I say this quite a lot at our negotiations, and it always comes back to the point of that we have, it's the perception of more time off than the traditional police departments, but that's totally inaccurate.
You have weekends off, but they
Yeah.
work a lot.
Yeah, the benefit to this is we know when we're off and such like that. They have a rotating chart, and same with them, but the most important thing to consider is the following. Based on the department, like I work up in Jupiter, they work, I forget, either 181 or 182 days of the year, 181 or 182 days a year. They actually get out of their bed and they go to work. I get out of my bed and I go to work 200 days a year. So there's 18 more times that I get out of my bed and go to work. Now, if you're going to say, oh, well, O'Sullivan, you work 8 hours and they work 11 hours and 15 minutes, yes, that's true. But out of their 181, essentially they work a half a year, they get vacation time, they get sick time, they get comp time, they get something called a holiday time. When you consider how much time of all that accumulates, it would be safe to say that a veteran officer there, that's 30 days out of the year,
Minimum.
if they take a couple sick days. And then additionally, just throw at it, on a holiday, they get paid double time and a half. So it really, I don't want to say thankful. I understand that you offered us a pay raise, and that is a starting point. But again, the problem is getting people to come here, and then to keep them here. I understand there were 6 people coming in today. We lost, I believe, 4 just in April. Wait till June comes. You're never going to keep up here. So, and I say this, and it's, I with all due respect, the school district either has to get in the policing business or out of it, because we're not even an autonomous organization. When things happen, we have to rely upon others to come save us. So, it's just very, very disheartening, and it's gonna continue, it's just getting worse. And when, I think sometimes when people say about morale, I mean, it is the worst I've ever seen it. We have people, I don't want to say the organization, who came here from another organization that makes less money than us, and 2 of them just left to go back there. What does that say?
I had made a suggestion early on when we first started these negotiations this time that you folks should, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to offer us something above and beyond what we're asking. Because we know what we can pretty much ask for, and we know we're gonna pretty much get the same response that we get every year, is whatever the teachers get, you're getting. And that's pretty much it. We know that. We can sit here all day long and say that's not the case. It is the case.
But the teachers do get more.
But the teachers do get more. And right now, this is my personal opinion, we lost 2 other chiefs because their hands got tied. They knew they weren't getting us anything more. Now, we got a brand-new chief, we're all behind, we want to see her be successful, we think we got a diamond in the rough with her. The problem is you're going to tie her hands too, and she's going to look at this and get the same results that we're getting now. We hire 5, we lose 10. I mean, we have to put something out there that's going to make people want to come here. It can't be the old school where, guess what, you got the time off, because again, it looks like we're not getting the same time off that we used to have. And that's what these guys are looking at. It's like, I seem like I'm constantly working. One of the other reasons with the June and July schedule, it gives you more consecutive weeks off in a row. So there's nothing, that's why it's not just the non-contract pay or the little bit extra money. Some of these new guys who are living paycheck to paycheck are depending on. It's just little things like that, you know, when you say, and I brought it up because those words were out of your mouth, where it allows you to spend more money on wages by not using those things. Those are the exact words out of your mouth.
And I can address that, but, you know, in earlier sessions, we have discussed how we're down 6,500 students.
I
And the hit
understand that.
that is on the district. So to come up with some of these wages for a school system is, and when you're funded 46th, 47th in the country, you know, from the state, there's just a much more limited pot than there are in some municipalities. or
Maybe
something like that.
our lobbyists need to get a little bit more creative then.
We couldn't
because
agree with you more. Couldn't
something-
agree with you more there.
Something needs to be done. I mean, we're not getting, I mean, this is a yearly thing. I mean, what does it take to get somebody up there to say, hey, look, we need money here? I mean, this is not something new, though. I mean, it's even with this pay gap thing. We can sit there and go, hey, you know what? We knew this was going to happen 20 years ago, but we still allowed it to happen. So why do we continue to allow this to happen, what we're going through every year, day in and day out when we come here for negotiations? We feel like we're put off to the last group every single, we're still negotiating with with 4 days left in school, and we're still negotiating. This shouldn't be. We're talking about a calendar that should have been done back in January. You know, it's just little simple things. We feel like a second-hand citizen to you guys. We don't feel like we're getting the respect that we deserve and that we earn. I mean, we can't even begin to tell you how busy we've been this year as police officers in this community. It has been bad. It's not getting better. It's not getting better. You know, and I don't know what more we can do, and we can sit here and see, we understand you get so much money, and we understand that you have so much money for us and for other groups, but let's get creative. There's got to be something more you can do for us. I mean, I don't know what more I can ask. I mean, we want this to work, but the more and more you keep knocking us back, guess what? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not going to be able to sustain itself.
By the end of, so we just bargained for PBSO. By the 3rd year of their contract, we know you're not PBSO, but by the 3rd year of their contract, base pay will be above $65,000. We just finished
What's
North
that
Palm.
hourly rate?
I don't know, but like, as we said in the contract, they have way more leave than you all. So it's
It's hard to compare. It just is.
But I'm saying every single agency is
Their hourly
hiring
rate's
right
about
now.
$36.
Everyone is hiring right now.
it's
So they're gonna be looking and comparing.
But you gotta look at it this way also, which you guys feel, I don't know if you're seeing it from the other side of the, the spectrum here. This is our full-time job. We don't have another job. So our yearly salary is our yearly salary. We can't go out and work another, job on the week off that we have in the summer, the 2 weeks off. So this is our salary, whether whether you give it to us in 26 paychecks and 24 paychecks or 12 paychecks, whether you give it, so the hourly rate that you keep, and then now and then you come up with, we're the smallest union in this district. And then you come up with these calendars to take away whatever little bit of extra time we might have been able to work during the summer to make a little bit more for ends meet. Now you're trying to mess with the calendars to take that away. This is why, this is why I get upset, is because we are the smallest union in this district. This district has a budget of almost $4 billion now, right? 3-point-something billion a year, and it's like you play,
Nickel and dime.
you nickel and dime us over and over again. Where you claim that you're trying to save money for the district. You're not really saving much. You're not going to save anything. You'll save $20 on our salaries, and then the district finds some contractor to spend $50 on a roll of toilet paper instead of what it goes for in a store.
I read
So
that the
it's-
millage went up 40 million, I think, in 2020. So you have 13,000 plus teachers. Some of them get $10,000 in supplement, which I think that our president sent out a letter about that. I don't care where the money comes from, but they've reached a point where it's just like, you guys need to be more competitive.
The breaking point.
So I don't know if we want to caucus now. I think we should, and then maybe we can move on to other articles like
Okay.
20.10.
That's fine. So I can take a deep breath.
Okay, all right, we're gonna step out.
Yeah, we were doing yoga outside.
Okay, I'm just gonna go through, based on our proposals, what I think that we can agree on. So I'll just start with Article 17, work week and overtime. So we proposed 40 hours for the comp time max. Did you guys, you
Yeah,
wanted?
we've responded on that before. We did not agree to that, but I did talk to the chief, and she is willing to start looking at that to see if they can develop some internal processes that can help prevent the reason why we're not in favor of it at this time.
Okay,
But she is in favor of looking at it and does think that, there's something that can be done, so.
okay.
What
So-
did you agree to, though? I think you guys...
We didn't agree to it,
Okay.
is what I'm saying.
What was your proposal? I thought you did offer something, though. Was it...
No, on this, it was, you were requesting 40, ours was just to maintain current language
Okay.
at this time, yeah.
Okay, so we're leaving that at 40 to be a full week. And then 17.11 is, if you guys still want to agree to that, we're leaving it at the 40. 17.12, I changed the language to be if the outside detail or extra duty work is canceled and the officer is notified of it less than 24 hours, then they get either the pay for the length of time for the outside detail or the extra duty work, or 3 hours pay, whichever is less. And I think that's what our reps agreed to.
Yeah, that was during that committee with the chief. We, both sides agreed, TA on,
This was what the last round, they were gonna do that study committee.
Oh, this
So-
is the study committee?
yeah.
So I just put the language in here for that.
Yeah. I just want to clarify that committee is not empowered to
Right,
negotiate, they're only empowered
to make recommendations,
recommend.
right. So this was something that did, because honestly, I had not, it wasn't part of the original proposals, because I guess it was just being, worked through. We need some time to look at that recommendation then, but,
And who was at the meetings?
The Chief Weiner, Major Baxter, I believe, was there also?
The committee that we have under the contract are the three majors.
3 majors, okay. You, were- I thought,
I'm not on that.
No, yeah.
I know
and
the chief was
the
there, the
chief
new
was there.
chief.
I think she came in just to welcome you guys.
Yeah, what happened, we had it scheduled at 10, and then Major Baxter asked me if we can move it to 1,300 hours so the chief could be present. And then while we were discussing that, she said that she granted approval of that, which she will verify.
So that's fine if you need to check with her. For the calendar, we are fine leaving June 22 as is, seeing as how that is a week away, but we would like July of 22 and 2023 to revert back to the old schedule.
If it does.
So that's our offer for that. 17.15, I think that's fine for the overtime wheel language. That's the same as what we had last time. 17.16 was the WEX cards, so we had that new language for using on-duty time, but Chief Mooney was, nice enough to work with us on that. So if you want to put that in a GO,
We're not going to be adding that, though, to the agreement.
right, if you want to put it in a
In the
GO.
GL. Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, like I said, I don't have a time frame as to when that would be ready, but I met with her last week, so, I know she's working on it.
Perhaps we can just put the language in about the canine detectives and call-out officers.
Put the language in the,
All those employees regularly assigned as canine officers, detectives, and/or call-out officers will receive a fueling credit card
in the GO?
in the contract.
No, I wouldn't add that, just because, we're in favor of giving the cards, but adding to the contract is a different story. It's just, I know we're not going to add it to the contract. But, she is in favor of it, of giving the cards. I don't want to make this a bigger issue than it needs to be.
Okay. We would say that they should have it sooner rather than later, at least for those groups.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the recommendation, of course, I agree.
Well, just out of curiosity, if the next chief comes in and says we want to get rid of them again, I mean, I think that's kind of more what,
Then we'll have to negotiate.
Well, we can
again.
negotiate it again,
Okay.
but,
All right.
ultimately that.
I'm just
that
trying to
could-
maybe avoid certain things that you don't have to worry about. This is
Right.
one of the problems with some of our language in our contract that we have today, is I don't believe it was done properly 20 years ago either, so we have to clean that stuff up, is kind of what I think was one of our original goals and objectives.
So,
That's fine.
Did I scare anybody off? Because there was another person sitting there earlier.
Should go to graduation,
All right,
graduation this week.
all right, as long as it's not my fault.
okay, Article 18, leave. I added language, it's pretty much the same, but I added language to page 7, 18.2A, leave for personal reasons. I've heard that it's hard to actually get your personal days granted. So this language I actually took from PBSO's contract, almost verbatim. Request to use a personal day must be made upon at least 4 working days prior notice unless exigent circumstances exist and will be granted absent operational necessity. Because right now, I don't think we still haven't agreed on a finalized leave policy, and I didn't see any rules for when you actually have to request a personal leave day and when and how those are granted, so that's the language.
This is a new request, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I added that. We haven't agreed to the finalized leave policy yet, and I've been hearing things that it's hard to get your leave, personal leave days granted, and I looked at the policy and there's no real.
Of how far in advance you have to request
Yeah.
personal.
There's no real process.
Yeah, Assistant Chief, are you, off the top of your head, are you familiar at all?
With what specific?
How many days in advance you have to request personal leave? Is it something in a general order?
I think they're correct that there's one in process, but there's nothing finalized yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't actually, because we're still technically bargaining the leave policy, so I didn't see any specifics on the process for how to actually request and get your personal leave day granted. 5 is the same, just that you have to submit your leave request to your sergeant for approval. 7 was the same, that was that thing we were still debating on the leave policy. If you use a sick leave day to miss an entire scheduled workday, you can't work any function or detail until the next day unless you use the day for an individual other than yourself or to, attend a regular doctor's appointment.
Okay, give me 1 second. I don't feel like we came to that agreement.
No, this is just our same proposal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I have a question about that. Just
These are our
devil,
proposals.
yeah, I know, just devil's advocate, though. If somebody calls out sick on a Friday, and then we're getting hit by a hurricane, it's named, and they get assigned a shelter, do you see that might be a conflict? Or if it's a weekday, you're out sick, you were out sick for 2-3 days or something, and then there's a named hurricane?
Well, that goes back to whether you're ill or you're using it to care for somebody else.
But it's the next calendar day. So if you're out today, you were saying you can't work tonight.
Okay, till the next
right?
calendar day.
But tomorrow, you can work.
Okay,
So that was the meet in the middle.
Okay.
That we had, I thought. Where, in the perfect example was like the weekend duty. Like if you were out on a Friday, then we didn't,
yeah, okay.
we all
no.
agreed that.
No, I agree, I remember it now.
Yeah.
I got a little confused with the one before it.
And Tim, just to be clear on that, the hurricane assignments are not details, they're actually duty assignments.
Okay.
Okay.
What does that mean?
18.2, I think we just had moved that to that location because regular military service is also paid for those days. I think I took this language from that school policy. And stop me if you want to talk about something. 18.6, page 16, that's our same COVID proposal. I put 5 days of quarantine when I wrote this, but I don't know what the CDC is now. So we would be willing to put this administrative sick leave days according to current CDC guidelines.
Okay, just hold on 1 second.
This is something we put in, I at least put it in for Boynton because they get
I'm looking at,
admin days if they get COVID.
sorry,
At other agencies, they get paid admin days if they get COVID.
right. Okay.
So Article 20, that's fine if you want to remove that language about the canine, the extra language on the end that we added. Salary adjustments, so we still feel strongly about the 5%. We would be happy with a min-max increase of 3.5% for the min and the max, 5% retro for everyone, but then we would not ask for the bonus. So that's everything except for 20.10, the sergeant's article.
So you're saying the 5% in lieu of the 3.5 plus 1,500?
Right, just raise the min and max 3.5 and then 5% retro.
And do you have, I think the last 2 times we talked a little bit about the sergeant.
That's
Additional
at the
sign.
back of this. And it's basically what I gave you last time, except I changed a few things based on what we discussed with you last time. So I think you all wanted, like, for the discipline history, for subsection 2, we had 4 years, so I put that to 5 years, because that's what you all had. And then I clarified for subsection 3, line supervision course, I put CJSTC approved line supervision course. And then we were fine with within 6 months of becoming a sergeant, and it must be taught by a certified instructor. And then you guys had status quo for everything else, so we left the 45 days. We had 30 days notice, which is something that the district wanted last round of bargainings, but we put it back to 45. And then the contract now has 80% for the examination score. We had proposed 70, but we met in the middle at 75% for the examination score. We had removed the interview process, and you guys kept the interview process status quo. So I just put a note to discuss that, because if we stick with something, I think it needs to be hammered out a little bit more right now, there's not even an amount of people who sit on the panel in the contract, so.
Okay.
Everything else, I think, is pretty much what we had proposed, including that idea to be able to supplement half of the semester hour credits with the continuing education units or having military service.
Okay. On the $1,500 piece, one of the reasons we really thought that might be helpful was that, the timing of it could help mitigate any of the impact of the pay gap. But you're pretty firm on saying that's not of interest, the $1,500.
They would rather have the 5% in the retro.
Give the retro check right before the pay gap, and then
Right, but I know that would not happen.
That's not possible.
Because of the length of time.
You have,
It just
Correct.
takes time to process them all with the, right? Some are,
correct, and it's in the order that they're approved. And so we're starting with the teachers, and then we also have an upgrade that the district already had planned in July. So we won't be able to make those adjustments until, at the very earliest, if we were to settle now and go to the board by June 1st, we'd be able to get those in beginning of August 9th, the retro and also the adjustment of the pay. The bonus, what's different with that is the bonus is based on once it's approved by the board. And so once we would go to the board meeting on June 1st, we would be able to pay the bonus. We could actually schedule whatever pay period we would like the bonus to be paid out on. Could be as early as the next pay period after the board meeting, but we could also schedule it to have it on that July 8th pay date.
I don't know how much we're able to move on everything, but I don't know if we can TA on anything even this, because it sounds like you want to get back to Chief Mooney on the calendar and the outside detail committee finding and things like that, right?
yes. Yeah, I guess sorry about that. It just looks a little different than what I thought it was. But, I'll get, Chief Mooney and I talked about it a little bit last week.
Are you talking about
Like if outside detail is canceled.
Oh, the joint study?
Yeah. I didn't know that it was part of that study group. I didn't know that was a recommendation from the study group, is what I'm saying.
Like, you didn't know they came up with a conclusion?
Right. It was just kind of talking ideas of what,
I thought we actually talked about that too, though, didn't we?
No. In session?
Yeah.
No.
what, the study group?
No, about the cancellation of the detail.
Well, because the last round, we agreed to having the joint study committee look
Handle
at
that,
it.
Right.
We had talked about it briefly prior to that, though.
Well, we had discussed about on a case-by-case basis
Yes.
addressing them in
Right.
the meantime, so that made sure that.
You are,
When we are.
correct?
That's right.
That's correct.
That sunsets though in July, right? Or July 1st,
Uh,
that one?
December 31st.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I would like to have a clean leave policy too, if we can at least agree to that. If we, it seems like we're closest to agreeing on the leave article. I don't have a Word version of the leave policy, but I don't know
I
how.
think I do.
Okay, I don't know how you all feel on.
Oh, you mean the general order?
Yeah, the general order, and that's why I put this in here, because it is a main part of their use of sick leave on page 8, so I don't know if you are open to that, or,
I don't think we'd be in favor of adding it here if we can have it in the general order. Allows us to be a whole lot more flexible, and, you know, we're not looking to change it, you know, the opposite way, but if there were, you know, and, because I remember in our discussions, we weren't necessarily, we came to an agreement on most of it, but we said that, you know, we were sort of at the point where we felt comfortable going at that time. And the piece was about a doctor's appointment, or discussion was around at the discretion of the chief, right? That had come up in probably 2 or 3 sessions ago.
I don't remember the discretion of the chief. I thought the
It was
main,
to leave some flexibility so that if, you know,
you mean to allow them work the same day?
yeah, for like, to be like, you know, in favor of the officers, not to take anything away, but I don't know that we'd be adding it here.
I would definitely want this in the contract, just because it affects their sick leave and their ability to work these, you know, outside details and stuff like that, and
Okay, well, we could, I'll see what the group thinks on that then.
okay. I get
And when you
putting-
say flexibility, what do you mean on flexibility, though?
Because, well, basically centered around what you have here in that, because when we did impact bargaining on this, we didn't have anything inclusive of, you know, when caring for someone else.
Okay.
But then it came up in some later sessions, right? And, you know, as a way to, whenever you start something new, you want to, well, let's ease our way into it, right? So we
Sure.
don't, you know, make a mistake and like, oh, that was a bad idea. So the thought, I remember in part of the discussion, and I thought it came up in bargaining, I'm really pretty sure it did. But if not, maybe it was just an internal discussion about saying, well, at the discretion of the chief, where the chief can review like some extenuating circumstances, where it's like, let's not penalize the person if we don't have to, right? You know, that was part of the discussion, if that
I
makes sense.
think, though, by in the contract, it's a little bit more consistent then. You're going to get everything treated the same
And
way.
I think it'll almost benefit you, because.
And I think it would benefit you folks actually even more, because then there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. This is the way it is.
And then things like leaving your house for an errand and stuff like that, we could put in the policy,
Yeah,
not the contract.
that's already, Assistant Chief, that's already been taken care of, right?
I haven't gotten a copy of the policy. I thought it was still open until we decided all of these things.
Well, I think that when we
you said you were
we
okay
wrapped
with
up impact bargaining, and,
I wouldn't call this impact bargaining, though.
no,
because
but
it's-
remember, we started this in December? I think it was in December. This
I
was
didn't know
before.
a new leave policy was issued, because I thought we were gonna keep.
It was all
talking
those
about it
changes to
here.
the general order.
But some of it was this stuff.
Yeah, this one was, but
and,
those
like,
other
jumping
things that
the
were.
chain of command, like we weren't okay with skipping
Right,
the sergeant.
right, but the ones that we were okay with,
Was
I
that
believe
issued,
I'm
the new
correct in
policy?
saying that it was to move forward with it.
Can you send me a copy of that? Because I wasn't aware that a policy was issued.
Assistant Chief, can you send that?
Professional standards can get a copy, and that is on the sick leave.
Just general leave, I think it covered all.
The general order, the changes that we had,
That was just everything we had
No.
agreed on.
where if you leave your house, you had to call.
So that's in policy now?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's general order.
That was just the stuff we had agreed on.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so I would like to meet, I don't know how much more movement we're gonna have over here, but I would like to meet soon. And I know you guys all have, when are you all available? Are you guys available the first 2 weeks of June?
No. See, that's, I mean, you'd have to make it either June 8th, or June 9th, or June 10th, or June 13th, for all of us to be available.
I could do the 8th or the 13th.
8, 9, 10, or 13,
I can't do the 9th
if
or
we
10th.
still agree to the Fridays. You want?
I can only do the 8th or 13th.
City, all right, the 8th, I'm good with the 8th.
Okay, we'll look to see if that
7th,
works
even
for
the
everybody
7th
here.
is open, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not okay with
Call
you.
my secretary.
June 8th does not work on this side.
Okay, I could do the 7th as well.
June 7th is a Tuesday. Let's do it June 10th, so you guys all have to work on a Friday.
I'm actually at a conference even on Friday, so not available that week.
Since being that we're working,
I'm working too.
Oh, Alex.
I'm a wise guy.
So the 7th or 13th?
13th.
The 13th is best? Oh, 13th's not good?
I'll be in Italy.
Oh. Yeah, okay, just the
Ciao.
7th then.
Anything on the week of the 13th?
No, Mike will be out of town. And I would like to meet before then, if we can. Is the 7th good, or?
Not for the whole team, no.
No, I don't want to wait till July. What about the 1st or
Only-
2nd?
Only, we all won't be working that, according to these A and B schedules.
You were not. Oh, July.
That's June. This is June, what?
I think we could get a list of days that were available, and we'll get that to you.
Okay, I'd like to meet like the first 2 weeks of June, if we can.
All right. We'll see what we can figure out there.
Because Mike is out of town after that,
Yeah,
Okay.
and Kevin.
That's it. Those are the only days that we're-
right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
This
Have a nice
doesn't
day,
count,
guys.
because they won't be here.
Yeah.